What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Chris, man. We are here at the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is Friday, November 8th, 2024. My name is Chris Drummond. I am a freelance sports reporter based out of Minnesota here. I am a proprietor of this podcast, Work Hard, Play Harder, where I bring individuals on to talk about their why and get to know them outside their occupation. I have a very special guest that's coming on with me today. Her name is Margaret Carmel. She is based out of the Boise area. Been a reporter there for the past 4 years. We are going to talk to her about her why of getting into journalism and also get some of her favorite stories, favorite things, and just get to know her a little bit outside of her occupation. I'm a freelance journalist again, based out of here, and I love talking to other people who are journalists to hear their stories and hear their why. So, without any further ado, I introduce you the lovely, the talented Margaret Carmel. Good morning. How we doing, Margaret?
Hi, Chris. Good to meet you. Sorry, good to meet you.
No, it's okay. It's a pleasure to meet you. Just wanted to say thank you for hopping on my podcast. I really do appreciate it. How's your week going so far?
It's okay. I do have a little bit of a cough, so I'll try to keep that to a minimum, but that is something that I'm dealing with right now.
Okay, well, I'm hoping that gets better very soon. I really do. And I want to reiterate to you why I wanted to have you on here. And before I start peppering you with all these questions, I know you're a reporter based out of the Boise area, if I'm not mistaken. And you've been there for a few years now. I'm a reporter as well. I love talking to reporters and getting to know their why. It's a rarity that we get a chance to do something like this, right? Because we're always on the go. We're always looking at stories, calling sources, and always working. So it's ready for us to get to sit down and kind of talk about our story of how we came into it because everybody's story is unique and different. And also sharing tips about the industry as well. So I definitely appreciate you allocating time for me today for that. I want to start off by asking you um, the question that I normally start off all my podcast conversations with, and that is, what is your why? What is your why of doing what you do? Did you have any inspirations, role models growing up? Did this fall into your lap? Or was it something that you always wanted to do? But what is your why of getting into the journalism business?
Okay, I do want to answer that question. I'm just trying to figure out, I have someone texting me a lot right now, as you can probably hear in the Zoom.
Mhm.
I'm trying to figure out how to mute my notifications so that you don't hear that.
Oh,
Do
I,
you know how
I
to?
didn't hear anything.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, great. Because I ding, 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 and I was like, oh, this is so bad.
Okay,
Okay, so my
you're good.
why. Why I got into journalism or why I do the work that I do now?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Why you got into journalism?
Okay, so my path to journalism was a little bit unconventional. When I was young, I was really interested in news and current events. I was growing up during the Great Recession. That happened when I was in middle school, kind of right at that age where you start becoming aware of politics and aware of the world. And it felt like such high stakes. So I was really into reading the news. I was really into current events, learning about all these details.
Mhm.
But at the same time, that's also the age of YouTube, becoming a big deal. And I started wanting to make my own videos, and really getting into editing and teaching myself video production. Wanted to go into film. I wanted to go to film school. I wanted to go to learn how to make videos for a living and films and tell stories. And
Okay.
so I really wanted to do that. And I was focused on, and then at the same time, I had this interest in current events. And then whenever I went to apply to college, I got waitlisted at some film schools. I got into one that I didn't really want to go to, but then the university that I applied to, that was my top choice, where I ended up going, which is Virginia Commonwealth University, go
Yeah.
Rams. They said, hey, so we're not going to let you into the film program. You didn't get accepted, but if you go do an academic major, we'll give you a scholarship. And I
Sure.
said, okay, well, broadcast journalism, that's kind of the same, skill set, video production. I'll try that for a year and then I'll reapply to film program and see if I can make that work. And then when I was in my first day of, mass communications 101, I was like, whoa, this is so interesting. All the theory, like I hadn't really thought about, the way, you don't really talk about communications that much whenever you're, in school. It's not one of those core subjects. And then you sit in communications 101 and you're like, wow, there's so much interesting history and theory about all of the
Absolutely.
ways that we communicate with each other and all of the
Right.
ways that that shapes our society and makes us who we are, and it's politics and it's politics, it's society, it's gender, it's race, it's all of these things. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I didn't end up reapplying to the film school. I stayed in broadcast journalism. And then the longer I stayed in broadcast journalism, I ended up getting more interested in, I thought I wanted to make documentaries, but over time, I ended up getting more interested in the writing aspect. Um,
Okay.
and then my final semester, I covered the Virginia General Assembly and as a print reporter and ended up getting a job in newspapers. And I have been in newspapers or print online ever since. And that has been for 8.5 years.
I love that. I do. And listen, it's like you said, it's not a traditional story for everybody. The fact that you wanted to kind of go into the communicative field, but into the broadcast sense of film and video production, and then was swayed when you saw this whole new world of what you can possibly do, right? And that's amazing that you pivoted like that. I definitely know about the publication since because I've worked at the publication for the past 6 years, combining with Atlanta and Minnesota. I'm now in Minnesota here. I'm now freelance, but for the past 6 years, I was doing publications. So I totally understand that life of doing page design, of editing photos, and all that jazz and things of that nature. So totally understand that. You talked about it. VCU. You went there, but you also got your master's from Syracuse, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Congratulations on that. I'm actually working on my master's. I complete it next May, which is great. So I love that. Um, Talk to me about, were there any other schools that could have persuaded you from going to VCU or getting your master's at Syracuse?
Well, VCU was a really big, some place I really wanted to go. I mean, I am obviously, like, as if someone wanted to apply to film school, I applied to all the big film schools. I applied to USC, I applied to NYU, kind of the big ones. And I got waitlisted at NYU and their film school. And so if I had been off the wait list, I would have definitely gone and done that, But really, the thing that attracted me to VCU over any other school was, I don't know if anybody, listening knows much about the school, but it's an urban campus. It is in the city of Richmond, very much integrated in that life. You're not in a bubble off away from everything else. I liked that. And that's what attracted me to NYU as well. I wanted to live in a city and be around a lot of people that were different than me and be where things were happening, because I think that's an interesting place to learn to do your education.
Sure,
To
absolutely.
constantly be put in a situation with people that are different than you and are making things and creating things. And I always think about, I can't remember where I heard this metaphor before, but it was something like, well, if you have two bamboo sticks and you hit them together, they're going to make the same sound all the time. And that's, to me, like hanging out with people that are just like you and doing your education in a place with a bunch of people that think just like you. But if you have your bamboo stick and you're hitting it against all the different things in your house, you're going to get a different sound every single time. You're going to create something interesting. And to me, that's what living in a city is and doing your education in a city. And that's what really drew me to VCU. I loved that. And I got a great education there. And as far as the, going to Syracuse, I did that online, and that was kind of a tough decision, because it's like, um there's that temptation of, oh man, should I go do a master's in person and go to Medill or go to one of those, or go to Syracuse in person? But really, the reason I decided is because I love my job where I work now, which is a media startup called BoiseDev, and I didn't want to leave my job to go get a master's and then potentially leave the program and not be able to get a job, or to get a
Sure,
job that I like as much as I like my job now. And
absolutely.
my workplace was flexible. They said, whatever you need to do to get that degree, you can do it. And I just said, okay. And Syracuse Newhouse is a great school. And I said, all right, this works for me. And it was a really good experience.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. That's amazing. I'm also getting my master's online. I went to Kennesaw State University. I love the diverse perspective that you said. You definitely can't grow as a person if you're around the same kind of people with the same kind of mindset. You got to be able to have some diversity. And Atlanta, Georgia is one of the most diverse places that I know about. and that's where I went to college and school at as well. So I totally love that. Margaret, I want to ask you some favorite questions. Okay, you just give me the 411 off the rip based upon some of these favorite questions that I have. Are you with me?
Yes.
All right, let's rock with it. Okay. Favorite meal you like to cook?
Favorite meal. I really like making Indian food is probably my favorite food to make. So I like to make curry, different kinds of curry or tikka masala, either
Okay.
vegan or having meat in it. That's kind of like my, favorite meal to make.
So you like a little spice with your food, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm with you on that. Totally. All right. Favorite concert you've ever attended?
Favorite concert I've ever attended. Ooh, that's a tough one. Actually, no, it's not. My favorite is I went to see Lord Huron at Red Rocks, and that was my favorite concert.
That's an underrated group right there. I just heard about them last year. Like I did not know anything of that group at all, and I was like, okay, they got some good music. They're pretty good, pretty good. So I like that. That's what's up, Lord Huron. Okay. Next up, favorite place you've ever traveled to?
Favorite place I've ever traveled to. Hmm. I've been
Ooh,
able to go to a lot of interesting places. Honestly, New Orleans. And the reason it's my favorite is,
mm,
and this is kind of a maybe an unconventional answer. But the first time I went to New Orleans was when I was 8 or 9. No, I think I
okay,
was 8. I was pretty young. Which is
okay,
kind of a crazy time to go to New Orleans because you can't be partying when you're 8. And that's why everyone goes to New Orleans. But the reason that it sticks out in my mind is prior to that, I had gone on trips with my family. I think we had gone to Disney World, kind of traditional vacations. But going to New Orleans, I remember walking around the city and just seeing all of the little alleyways and all of the buildings, all the details, and just feeling like, okay, so this is a place that feels just as magical or more so than those sort of traditional vacation destinations, but it's a real place.
right.
This magic is not created for me. It just is magical because it's a real thing. And it made me go, no, I want to travel a lot and go to more places like this that are real. They're real places.
Sure, absolutely. I'm sure you tried the gumbo and the jambalaya down there. I'm not sure at 8, but if I'm sure if you've since been back there, the jumbo and the
Yep.
gum it's just so good. It's so good.
So good.
Okay,
The food is
okay.
unmatched.
You ain't lying about that. Okay. Favorite sport you like to watch in person? Favorite sport you like to attend or watch in
Uh,
person? And favorite sport you like to watch on TV is what I should say. They could be the same sport.
okay, basketball for sure.
Okay.
Um, uh, I got really into basketball, college basketball, going to VCU because we did not have football, so we only had basketball, and basketball was a really big deal, and was especially a really big deal whenever I was trying to go to the school,
Right.
because they went to the Final Four, in 2011, I believe, and so I watched a lot of college basketball. I still watch VCU basketball, and then now and then in the last couple years, I have gotten into watching the Seattle Storm in the WNBA. They're my team. And so basketball all the way, either WNBA or NCAA.
Absolutely, no question. I'm a huge WNBA advocate. I'm a huge NBA advocate. Obviously, Jewel Lloyd is one of my favorite players to watch. For
Yes.
those that will watch this interview, once I post it, Jewel Lloyd is the guard that plays for the Seattle Storm. So she plays for the WNBA. But there's so many great players just all across the league, from Alyssa Thomas, Nafisa Collier here in Minnesota. No question. Anuescu, Sabrina. Uh, who else? I'm leaving Jonquel Jones. I'm leaving Stewie. Just so many players.
So many.
I love WNBA for sure. Okay, that's a pretty good answer. Basketball's my favorite too. Favorite restaurant you like to eat at there? I'm a traveler too, so and I'm a huge foodie. I've never been to the state of Boise, or well, city of Boise, I should say. And Idaho is where you're at, but I've never been to Idaho. What is a good restaurant to eat there?
Well, so all of my favorite restaurants here, are so we have a so Idaho has a long history of being a place where refugees are resettled. So we're a very white state, but we have a lot of people also who are from Africa and the Middle East and Eastern Europe. And so a lot of my favorite restaurants here are owned by in kind of just like not fancy. It's in a strip mall, whatever. But the best food is owned by, a lot of these people who came over here as refugees. My favorite restaurant is called Kibrams. It's an Ethiopian restaurant. I don't know if they were a refugee family, but that is kind of very much like my favorite type of restaurant. It's not downtown. It's not a fancy space, but the food is just so good.
Okay. Have you ever had Dadawa?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So you know about that. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Yep. I tried it for the first time because I have some coworkers that are from Ethiopia and they brought some to work and they had me try it. So it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to get another dish like that whenever I get to another Ethiopian restaurant. They don't have any here in Minnesota. But whenever I do go and travel, I'm definitely going to look for some more Dadawa for sure. Um, Definitely one of my favorites. Okay, that's what's up. Let me talk to you about your day to day. As you know, as reporters, as we are, our days are never the same. They're always different every single day. We don't work the conventional hours either. Even though we get hours of time slots that we should work, sometimes we have breaking news. Deadlines is crazy, no question about it. We have to get stuff in on deadline. I know when I worked at my publication, we were 6 days a week of print, and then we dropped to 5 days a week. And so getting those sports stories in was crazy. And I can just imagine how crazy it is with your publication, trying to get stories in on time too. Talk to me about your day-to-day process, how you get ready, what kind of, how many stories you maybe write a day, and just the process of just going throughout the day for you.
So I have a lot of beats. Being at a small publication on a small team, I'm covering local government and politics in the city of Boise, one of our suburbs, and then the county that we're in as well. I
Sure.
cover housing, I cover homelessness, I cover whenever the legislature's in session, I cover the legislature part-time, and I
Okay.
do investigative projects. I cover growth and development. I do some business stuff. I mean, it's really everything. And so for me, it's just like I'm always trying to multitask and going, okay, I've got a big story that I'm going to work on. I'm going to do a little bit of this, and then I'm going to go work on my daily story. So some days I'll write multiple stories, other days I'll just work on a long project, but I'm always trying to see how can I do a little bit of everything. Like I'm working on election day is a perfect example. On the day of the election, I spent most of the day working on two stories that I've got going right now. One of them is about a police chase, car
Okay.
chase that was
Mhm.
appeared to be in violation of some policing policies. It resulted in a really crazy crash that killed a canine. And
Wow.
then once I worked on that, and then I said, okay, now the polls are closing. Let's do election coverage. And so it's always about how can I work on this project and then pivot to the next thing. And trying to um always not get overwhelmed and break everything down into little tasks. And you have to kind of become an expert in a lot of different topics. And think about every story as this is an opportunity to learn more. And so then I'll be even more prepared next time I write about this topic.
I like that. Now, how many times you guys print a week?
We are online only. So we put out a
Mm.
newsletter 5 days a week, in the afternoon. And well, actually, so we have a couple newsletter. We have two newsletters. We have a paid newsletter that is 5 days a week, and
Okay.
then we have a free newsletter that is 6 days a week. And so
Mm.
it's and so those two products mesh together.
Got you. So they get an e-subscription. They go online and pay that, and then get the e-subscription or e-edition of the what you're talking about, the paper, and then that's how they get their paper. They go online and pay for that. Okay, I got you on that.
Yes.
Talk to me about mental health and work-life balance. And the reason why I want to bring these up, Margaret, is because a lot of colleagues of mine have kind of stepped away from the industry because of mental health and work life balance, right? Because they feel like it's burnout. Sometimes they feel overworked and underpaid. Like you kind of mentioned it a little bit. You don't want to kind of overhaul yourself with work, and it's real easy in this industry to do that sometimes because you just want to go, 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 doing stories all the time. Talk to me about how you keep your mental health strong to where you don't experience those things, but also have a work life balance. You seem like a wonderful person to be around. I'm sure you have friends and family and stuff like that. So I certainly wouldn't mind hanging out with you. But you seem about your business as well. How do you are able to balance work life balance, but also keep good mental health as well?
I think a big thing is having hobbies and having things outside of work that you're excited about. A big thing for me is I love going to movies, I love reading, I love cooking, I love going to concerts. I love doing things that are not this. Like perfect example, if you work all day writing and covering politics, particularly on topics that make you upset or agitated, and then you hit 5 o'clock or whenever it is that you're done. And then what do
Mhm.
you do for fun? You're listening to podcasts about politics, you're watching CNN, you're reading the Washington Post, you're that's going to you're not detoxing from what you're from stress. And that's not to
Absolutely.
say that that's not to say that we shouldn't be aware of what's going on in the world. I think to be a good journalist, you need to know the greater context in which you're working and which you're living, right? But
Hmm.
like you have to I think having those things that you do that your brain can shut down and take a break from work and take a break from stress is really important. And having those things that you're and having and seeing friends and talking to family and making sure though that whenever you're seeing those friends and family, you're really like logging off. Like you're really like
Oh
not
yeah,
there.
absolutely.
I think we've all as a journalist experienced this where you're like, dang, we've got really stressful jobs. Let's meet up after work and relax. And then you get to the bar and what do you do for 2 hours? You talk about how
Talk
much
about your
work's
work.
you talk about
Talk
work.
about it.
And that's not to say that sometimes that's not healthy, but like I've definitely had moments where I've come away from those hangouts going, I don't think that helped me. I don't
Right.
think that made me feel better. I think that actually made me feel worse. And
Well,
so trying to be intentional at one of my first job, um, morale was pretty low in the office. And what kept happening was we were stuck in that cycle. Everyone was meeting up, everyone was complaining, everyone was just so agitated all the time. And then we'd get together and just agitate each other further.
right.
And so I was like, well, I don't want to not hang out with people, but I also don't want to keep doing this. So my solution was I formed a board gaming. I gathered a couple of my friends and I was like, let's do a board game campaign. And so whenever we're getting together, we're playing our board game. So we're gaming. We're not talking about work. We're not sitting there for hours. Maybe we'll chat a little bit before and after, but like for 2 hours, we're playing our game. And
Sure.
and and that I think is like finding those ways to spend time with friends that is immersive in the world, not just immersive in your work.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that answer. I do. There's a lot of times where I was covering high school and college out here for the newspaper when I did that. Now I do that for different publications, but also cover pro as well. So there's times where I'll go out to with some friends, maybe it's like an Applebee's. I'll throw an example out there. Go out to Applebee's, just have a good time, have a drink, get something to eat. And then they start talking about different sports going on. And it's like, can we talk about another damn subject? Can we talk about music? Can we talk about politics, news, something I don't cover? Because I really don't want to like banter back and forth with you. Like I'm off. I'm trying to check out. And it's really important to do that because you got to set those boundaries as well to be able to check out. I want to ask you about advice, right? What is some advice that you would share with someone that just graduated from college or someone that might be a little older, like you and I ourselves from college, that wants to do the same things that we do as print journalists and writers that want to be in this industry? What kind of advice would you give them?
I something I've noticed is that sometimes there's and I think this is fueled by TV and movies, right? And the portrayal of journalism is that you
Okay.
can graduate and then immediately get your dream job. Oh, I want to be an anchor in a top 50 news market. I'm just going to show up to the station and apply. That's not how that works. Or
Right.
maybe there are people who graduate from some top program and there's some wonder kid, boy
Sure.
wonder
There's
type person.
always some. There's always going to
Right,
be
right.
some.
Right, who can start at the New York Times or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, maybe those people exist. But like
Yep.
the best reporters that I've ever worked with are people that are willing to show up, especially at the beginning of their career, and go, you know what? Sure, I'll do it. This isn't my dream. This isn't
Right.
my favorite subject, or this is not the town I want to live in.
Right.
I'm gonna have to move to a small place or work at a station that isn't a top station and be willing to say, okay, I'll put my hand up. I will get the work done. My first job was I covered business at a paper in Lynchburg, Virginia, which is a small town, about 80,000 people. It's not
Mm.
on an interstate. And it's a mid-sized daily paper. And I was just like, okay, I got a good feeling from the editor at the time. I had a friend who worked there, and I just thought it's a beautiful place. Sure. Do
Why
I
not?
want to write
Why
about
not?
we got a new pizza place,
Right.
or this, we got a new like boutique that's opening. Like, was that like my dream? No, but I learned a lot. And if I had turned that opportunity down
Right.
and wanted to go somewhere and said, well, I will accept nothing less than working at the Washington Post or working at a big paper, I probably wouldn't have gotten my start in journalism. And I also probably wouldn't have learned a lot because in a small paper like that, you do everything. I mean, I was doing public safety reporting. I was covering politics because we had a big university there that was very politically involved.
Yep.
Um, you know, I was covering politics during the 2016 election. I was covering Black Lives Matter protests and I was doing investigations on the business beat. And then, oh, look,
Okay.
we got an opening on local government. Sure, I'll move over there. And then by the end of it, I was there for 2 years. I finished as the youngest person at the time to ever be our city hall reporter. So it's
Okay.
like, so it's like you you need to not to take opportunities as they are and make the best of them instead of looking for all of the reasons this isn't what I want to do. There's a lesson in every single day. Don't turn your nose up at anything because these days because you're never going to get where you want if you're not willing to start to learn.
Absolutely. And that's great advice. It really is. And you gave great answers all conversation long. But yes, definitely you want to take the opportunity that's presented. I tell my young kids out here, especially in high school and in college, that do everything, try everything. Because you want to be a jack of all trades. The more that you are, the better asset you are to a company. I always advocate to them though as about getting jobs and occupations that this is not really a glitz and glamour type of job. What you see on TV is not always what it seems. Or if read these newspapers of these writers, right? Me working in a publication, I would tell them all the time, there's a lot of behind the scenes work that we do. It's not really a glitz and glamour type of job like that. You got to really love what you do to do this type of job, right? Because this is also not a job where you just show up and then oh you're covering games, you're going to this and that. Again, there's a lot of things that goes into sports. There's a lot of things that go into news. You calling sources, you're setting things up, you're getting phone calls, but you also have to deal with the negative stuff too. Sometimes you have sources that cancel on you last minute. Sometimes you have stories that people give you that you can't seem to get done as well, because it's like, oh man, you're just fighting against it. The three things that I tell people, Margaret, prior to coming out is: one, anytime that you take or get an offer of a job or something like that, take a visit. You definitely have to take a visit to the town. I would personally, because you got to know the landscape of the town. You got to know the landscape of the people that you're working with, and you got to know if it's a toxic situation. You just don't want to say yes to a job and you don't know nothing about the city. You don't know what you're going to be covering. You don't know what you're going to be doing. You don't know where things are. They should be able to give you a visit. That's what I tell young people. The second thing I tell them is when you do take a visit, find out the cost of living. Even you might want to even do that before, but find out your cost of living. You definitely don't want to be eating top ramen every single day. That is not a life that's conducive. That's just not. There's nothing positive about that. You got to be able to live, and you also have to be willing to move. I agree with you totally. Some people are kind of stuck and say, "I want to be here, I want to be here." You got to be willing to move because you're not going to be in the top one, two, five markets or whatever you're going to be at. You're probably going to start off very small. I'm in Southwest Minnesota right now. Um, I was in Atlanta. I came to Southwest Minnesota as well. We're only 14,000 of a population, so we're very small. And I worked here for 2 years doing the publication here, covering different section championships, state championships, and all kind of sports before I made the transition to now freelance. But you gotta be willing to do things that's uncomfortable is what I'm trying to get at. And a lot of people are not. Not a lot of people are willing to be comfortable being uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
I love that. Comfortable being uncomfortable. I think that so much of media and so much of actually just being a person is about that. People like, "Oh, so I want to do this, but I don't want to cover a topic I don't know a lot about or I'm not passionate about."
Right.
Or I don't, man, I'm gonna have to go talk to a bunch of people that I don't know or I don't understand or make me uncomfortable or I'm gonna have to cold call people and stuff. And I'm just like, this whole job, all of this is all about inserting yourself into a community and really becoming part of that community. And that is hard to do. Like, I think
Yep.
we all know those people who move to a new place and then you're like, okay, tell me about the place. And they're like, I don't know. I go to work, I come home, I watch Netflix. And you're like, because that's comfortable to you. But like
Right.
the work doing journalism is putting yourself out there, like
Right.
meeting people, going places and
Yeah.
and learning all about all of the facets of a community, being curious about it. And if and that and there's times I think we've all been there where you're like, oh, I don't want to go to this event. I don't want to small talk with people. I don't want to do all of this. And I'm just like, you got to put a good face on and go. And because you might meet some amazing sources, you might meet a new friend, you might do all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And also journalism is inherently uncomfortable because you're confronting people in power. Like
Yep.
that is hard to do, but it's important and necessary to do.
Absolutely. I agree. Well said on that one. We are at the portion of the podcast episode now that we're going to play the interactive game called This or That. And basically, what this is, Margaret, is that if you get to choose this or that based upon the things I throw out at you. Okay. So, are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay. Here we go. First one is which restaurant, if you had to choose one, which restaurant would you choose? Popeyes or KFC?
Popeyes for sure.
That's what I'm talking about, girl. Now I know we can be friends. Now we can be friends. It's solidified. Okay, I'm with
Absolutely.
you on that. We off to a good start. Now chicken wing flavors. Which one are you going to be choosing? Now, buffalo is not one of the flavors because I know you probably would choose the buffalo because you like a little spice. But these two, barbecue or lemon pepper.
Lemon pepper, I think.
Okay. Do you like your wings wet or dry?
Probably wet wings, but
Okay.
it depends on how good they are. Like for me, my problem is like barbecue. Sometimes you go to a place and there are barbecue wings and it's just like the most bland flavor. So that's why I'm like lemon pepper has a stronger flavor.
They
And
do.
so that's really what I'm looking for. But if it's a really like flavorful, great barbecue sauce, then I might be convinced. But it's just like for me, I'm just like I'm looking for what is the stronger flavor.
Sure enough. Say less. Okay. Do you like your wings bone in or boneless?
Bone in.
Okay, so you like to get a little messy, is what you're saying.
Thumbs up, absolutely.
I'm with you on that. Hey, listen, get a wet wipe, wipe your mouth, and let's go to work. I'm with you on that. Totally. Um, this next four questions have to do with music, concerts you rather attend. Okay.
Yep.
So, which music concert would you rather go to? Kendrick Lamar or Drake?
Oh, Kendrick.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm with you on that. Which music concert would you rather go to? J. Cole or Lil Wayne?
Hmm. I'm much more of a Lil Wayne person if I have to pick between the two. But
Mm, I got you. Okay, okay. That's what's up. No, listen, both of them are good artists, so I love both of them. Okay.
yeah,
Which music concert would you rather go to? AJR or Panic at the Disco?
okay. I will qualify my answer. If it was 2005 Panic at the Disco, I would pick them. But I am much more of a fan of, I'm glad that I got a laugh out of you.
It
Uh,
did.
I I I am much more of a fan of AJR now. Like if I had to compare Panic at the Disco now and what they're doing now versus AJR, I'd pick AJR. And I actually saw AJR and it was a really fun time. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're two of my favorite groups, no question about it. So I feel you on that. Okay. Which concert would you rather go to? Would you rather go see Casey Musgraves or Carrie Underwood?
Casey Musgraves.
I like how decisive you are. That's amazing. I love that. There's just no waffling with you. So I love that. Okay. Which sport, if you had to play, which sport would you rather play? Badminton or bowling?
Badminton.
Are you good at badminton?
No, I'm not good at it, but I'm better at it than bowling.
Okay. I love the honesty. Please keep it coming. Here
I,
we
I,
go.
I keep it real. I keep it real.
I love that. I love it. Do you like desserts?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to throw four categories of desserts out at you. You have to choose one of these categories that you will never eat again. Okay.
Okay.
The first one is ice cream. The next one is cake. The next one is cookies. The last one is candy. Which one are you getting rid of that you'll never eat again?
Probably cake because a lot of times cake has like a ton of really, really sugary frosting on it. And I think I want to eat cake and then after I eat it, I'm like, oh, that was too much.
I can understand. I totally get it. What's your favorite ice cream?
Coffee.
Oh, okay. All right. I think you're the first guest that's ever said that on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. That's what's up. I like that. I'm a cookies and cream guy. So yeah,
Good.
definitely
That's a,
that.
that's a close second, honestly.
Okay, I'm with you on that. Do you like potato chips?
Yep.
So this is the same format. I'm gonna throw out four brands. You get to choose one of these that you'll never eat again. Okay.
Okay.
All right, here we go. First brand is going to be Pringles. The next brand is Lay's. The third brand is Doritos. The last brand is Ruffles. Which one are you getting rid of that you'll never eat again?
Probably Lay's just because they're so thin and it's
Hmm.
and I like the thicker chips. So probably take Lay's out.
Margaret, you couldn't be more right. You couldn't be more right because I'm with you on there. Ruffles is probably my favorite. The greatest chip ever made is sour cream and cheddar. Ruffles, that's just my opinion. Um, the worst chip or the second worst chip ever made is Lay's salt and vinegar. Whoever made that chip needs to just destroy all salt and vinegar chips. They're just terrible. They're awful. Um, but the worst chip ever made is Funyuns.
Okay.
Def,
That's a good
definitely.
take.
Yeah, yeah, Funyuns. I can't stand it. Just want to throw that out there. You
Not
did.
into those either.
I feel you on that. You did pretty good on the this or that. I love asking this next question to us journalists, and that is, if journalism wasn't something that you pursued as a career, what career path would you have chosen and why?
Um, I have a couple different options. Like I said, as a young person, I really wanted to go into film and working in probably trying to work in Hollywood. And then now as an adult, like if journalism were to disappear tomorrow, I would probably try to get into affordable housing policy, and work as like an affordable house, like a housing advisor for a city.
Hmm, I like that. I do. I like that. Now, I know you did talk about the film. Are you trying to be an actress behind the camera, producer, in front? Like, what would you try to be in the film industry?
I would love to do I would love to be involved in production, certainly not an actress. The idea of taking a story and figuring out how to bring it to screen, whether that's producing or um, doing camera work or directing, something like that. Like taking a big vision and then figuring out, okay, how do we tell this story in that film format? On production side for sure. Exactly what part of that I don't know. But that would be my interest.
I would say theater for me. Definitely theater. I'm a huge musical person, so I love musicals, love plays, stuff like that. That's just it would be awesome to do something like that because I'm Chris every single day when I wake up. So to play another character would be pretty sweet. That'd be pretty cool. So
I
yeah,
love
no
that.
doubt. Oh yeah, absolutely. What is some of your favorite stories? You can give me like a couple stories. What were some of your favorite stories that you've covered so far in your journalistic career that you can remember? Tell.
Let me see. I will pick I'll pick a couple. I'll pick one from each of the three jobs that I had. I think my favorite story I did at my first job was my first investigation project that I did,
Okay.
which was I essentially uncovered why this local EMS agency closed. And the town was very confused about it. I was able to get a bunch of state documents showing that it was because they were deleting records and having unlocked boxes of narcotics lying around, and left someone with a head injury on the side of the road unattended. So I really was really proud of that work. And then my favorite story I did at my second job at the Idaho Press, which is the newspaper that hired me when I first moved to Idaho, was I did a story basically, was able to do a series of stories that revealed that a our former mayor, who was mayor at the time, was linked to a political action committee that was trying to kill a ballot initiative, and he was essentially
Oh
not
my
being
goodness.
honest about that,
Wow.
and hiring campaign staff and all of that. And so I really, and it wasn't just the story because it's kind of complicated to get into all the details, so
Hmm.
won't bore you guys with that. But I was just really proud of how I got a tip and then I followed it and I wrote a story and then I got more tips and I sort of um was able to follow things one step at a time and then eventually, get to the point where I sat down with the mayor and he admitted to me, yes, I'm behind this political action committee. Um and I liked that process and I thought it was important for voters to know that. And it involved, going to different downtown offices and addresses and seeing what staffers were there. And it was a fun process. And then my favorite story that I've done since coming here, to my current company, BoiseDev, is I did a story where there was a canal company that
Okay.
was essentially overbilling people, and then if you didn't pay the bills, they would give, way too crazy late fees, and if you didn't pay, they would put a lien on your house, and a lien is like where they try to steal your property. And so
Right.
I used public records and I was able to prove I used public records and I found all these people that had liens on their homes through this company, and then I was able to report on it, and eventually the Idaho Attorney General opened an investigation for and got everyone's money back, got the liens taken off, and forced the company to comply with the law. And I was really
Wow.
proud of that.
Look at you. I like that. Congratulations on that. I mean, that's just great reporting by you, to be able to, investigate and find out yourself, talk to people, and then be able to pass it over to them so that they can actually do the legal process of getting those people money back. I mean, how can you overbill somebody and then put a lien on their damn house? What? That's crazy. No question. But that's like I said, that's great reporting on your end for sure. Advice. What is some advice that someone has gave you that you hold on dearly to? We talked about advice you gave, but what is some advice someone has given you?
one of my best friends, his name is Alex. He was a reporter at my paper, my first newspaper, but he was a number of years older than me. And so when I started, he had been around, I think he was almost 30 at the time. I was 21. So it was kind of like had that relationship where he was giving me a lot of advice, as
Hmm.
an older colleague to a younger person.
Yeah,
Um, and his advice to me was, he uses a lot of sports metaphors, and I was really just cut up over making a mistake, having a correction in a story. And I
hmm,
remember at one point him telling me, he's like, journalism is like baseball. You play every day. And I, like yeah, you go out, you do your game, and sometimes you lose, but congrats, you're gonna wake up tomorrow and you're gonna play the same team again. You're gonna get to try again, and that this is a long season.
interesting.
This work is a long season, and you're not gonna win every game. You're not gonna win every day, but you still get to have that long season, and you still get to do your best, and you get to wake up tomorrow and play the Red Sox again. And I and yeah, there's big games. Like some games are a World Series game, right? But like there's a lot, and you don't want to mess up, but there's a lot of that day-to-day reality that's like it's not going to be perfect, and you have to let yourself be okay with that and then get ready to wake up in the morning and play again.
I
And
like
that
it.
and I think about that all the time, and I have told younger people that too. It's just like you're going to get to play every day. And
Wow.
you need to not let losing a game today prevent you from playing again tomorrow.
Absolutely. I think you got to take advantage of, especially being in these smaller towns, before you get to a big time market. The mistakes that you can make at the smaller towns, when you get to those other markets, you might not be able to make those same mistakes that you do make in the smaller market. I do like the baseball reference. I'm a sports guy, so I definitely respect the baseball reference. You do play quite a bit, no question. I know I had some pretty good advice as well. I think one of the best advice that I was given was, don't beat yourself up over stuff that you can't control. I think that was one of the things that I was told. Don't beat yourself up over stuff you can't control, because sometimes you can't control things in this industry, and you only could control the controllers. You just got to go out there and do the best of your abilities, and if you've done your best, you can live with that. And so that definitely was some great advice for me that I got as well, being in my journalism career. Um, we're coming to the end almost of the podcast. So now we got rapid fire questions.
Okay?
Okay. So the first thing that comes to your mind based upon these questions that I asked. Okay. So here we go. Burgers or tacos?
Tacos,
Okay. Waffles or pancakes?
pancakes,
Chicken or ribs?
ribs,
Favorite color?
green.
Favorite card game?
Hmm. Nerds.
What? What? So what? What is nerds?
Um, it's a very fast-paced card game where everyone you play with a big group of people and everyone has a deck. So there's a lot of cards. And
Uh,
basically it's basically playing solitaire at super fast speed with like 10 people and 10 decks of cards. So you're constantly going through your cards trying to, you know, oh, I've got an ace. I'm gonna and trying to build up stacks of cards that are all in the correct order,
okay.
like you do in solitaire. And so you're having to watch your own cards and then watch what everyone else at the table is doing, and it's super fast paced. And it's really fun. It's really fun.
So the object of the game is to get rid of your debt.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, okay. I would love to play that. I've never heard of that before. I thought you said nerds at first, like the candy. I was like, what? Uh,
No,
I
it's
was like,
NERTZ.
got you, nerds. Okay. What's your favorite board game?
I really like this game called Terraforming Mars, which is a sort of essentially you're playing as a corporation and against other people as a corporation, and you're trying to figure out like how to make Mars a livable planet and build cities and forests and do all these things and basically get the most points. It's really fun.
And that's an actual board game?
Yep.
That's what's up. That's different. Okay. Favorite alcoholic drink?
Um, I love like cider, like a craft cider type of deal.
Craft cider. Okay. Is that like a certain brand? Like, or that's
No,
just like
no,
a certain
just
drink?
anything that's like I love cider in general, but especially if it's like from a local, like this is again, I used to work in rural Virginia, right? So like there would be a lot of places that it would be like an orchard where they grow the apples and then they make the cider there and you can go to the mountain and like drink the cider that they made from the apples that are growing on the hills and stuff. So it's like kind of like a low, anything that's like made from like cider that's made from like a local company that is like probably growing and so sourcing their fruit locally and stuff. I love that kind of thing.
Okay, I like that. I'm a Hennessy person, so I definitely got to get my Hennessy in me. That's for sure.
Awesome.
Yes, indeed. If you had three people to take on a vacation and you can go anywhere in the world, who would those three people be, and where would you go?
It would probably be my three of my friends who I met doing journalism here in Idaho. I would probably pick my friend Nicole, my friend Ash, and my friend Rachel. And we would probably go to Mexico.
Okay, absolutely. Mexico's beautiful. Just came off a cruise actually, and I was in Cozumel, Mexico, and that was
Nice.
just so beautiful. It was so beautiful over there. So yes, absolutely, no doubt. If you had three songs or three artists that you could choose to listen to and never get tired of listening to their songs, they could be on repeat. What would those three songs be, or who would those three artists be?
All right, I'm gonna have to pick three artists.
Okay.
I would pick Fleet Foxes, um, and Pink Floyd,
Ooh,
and
that's a throwback right there. Okay.
I love 70s music, so I would pick, yeah, Fleet Foxes, Pink Floyd, and probably this uh almost like a modern take on hair metal band from Philly called Sheer Mag. Those would be my three.
Wow. No question about it. That is definitely I would say that's a definite first. Probably three bands that I've limited music I've heard of. Like Fleet Floyd, I do know who Pink Floyd is. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know the Fleet Fox, and I don't know the other one either. But yeah, I like that. I like to differentiate. So I'll probably have to look into the Pandora and see if I can find some music. What are some good songs of Pink Floyd and Fleet Foxes that I should listen to? And a third band. I forgot the name of that you said.
Oh, you're good. So Pink Floyd, I recommend all of their albums are concept albums.
Mhm.
So it's like, yeah, they have some hits, but like really it's meant to be an experience where you kind of listen to the whole thing, top to bottom. I always recommend everybody listen to the dark side. I mean, it's so cliche, right? Like we've all seen the dark side of the moon record, but it's like really a masterpiece of an album. Like, and it's got weird funky sounds in it, but the guitar playing is awesome, the
Okay.
writing is awesome. It ends on this line, kind of very ominous line where you hear a voice saying there's no dark side of the moon really, it's all dark. And like it's just like gives me chills every time. It's really, really good. Just has these like
Hmm.
soaring notes and then also sort of like these like really kind of quiet contemplative moments. And then the Wish You Were Here record, the two top songs off of that one, Wish You Were Here, is such a like emotional song, and then Shine On You Crazy Diamond, there's two parts, one at the beginning, one at the end, and like that is like a really just it kind of it's quieter but just kind of really feels it just kind of gets you emotionally, I think, because of the way that they do harmonies, the way that they do guitar work. It's really interesting. Fleet
Sure.
Foxes is a folk band. I recommend their second album, Helplessness Blues, in
Okay.
particular. But all of their records are really good. It's very much like interesting writing, but harmonies. It kind of just feels like fall. And
I heard of them because of Post Malone. Post Malone has a song with them.
yes, okay, yes. Um,
That's what I heard.
And then Sheer Mag, I recommend all of their songs. Again, it's very much like 80, kind of feels like 80s hair metal, like, you
Hmm.
know, just like a really gravelly voice, really cool guitar hooks, you know, but it's just fun. It feels like party rock kind of music to me, but certainly
Okay.
not in the like pop punk kind of modern. It sounds like a throwback. Like I'll play their music and I'm like, when do you think this song came out? People are like 1987. And I'm like, no, this was from 2015. And I love that like throwback. And really like and they're from Philly. And so it's like very much like that kind of grungy Philly attitude. Like I saw them at a club live at this club here in Boise, and the singer was like doing jello shots on stage, and they were like gonna have
Wow.
a song, and and they're gonna play their one of their songs, Moonstruck, and she just goes, "Can I cuss on this podcast?"
If you can,
Okay,
yes.
she just goes, I need someone to get up here and play the motherfucking bongos. And everyone's like, I don't know what she's like, no, for real. Like, someone get up here. We need to play the bongos. And some dude just got up on stage and they gave him bongos and he was just bongoing in the background during this song. And it's just like, it's just fun. It's fun. So those are my three.
Okay. Okay, I like that. Like I said, I love the transparency. Appreciate the stories. Appreciate your perspective. As far as those bands go, I appreciate the advice that you gave all conversation long. I appreciate also your story of how you came into it. It's not a traditional story, and like I said, all of our stories are, I would say none of our stories are really traditional. We all have different paths to getting into this journalism business, but you're doing an excellent job out there in Boise with BoiseDev, and this is your third stop. I'm sure this is not your last stop. And yeah, I just want you to continue doing great work, and I really do appreciate you coming on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. As I always do, I ask, is there anything else you would like to add about yourself, your job, or anything at all before we conclude?
If you value journalism and if you value information about your community in a difficult time, start reading news and start supporting news, whether that is subscribing or sharing or whatever. This work matters, and I encourage people to support it.
Absolutely. Margaret, I really do appreciate you hopping on this Friday. You take care. Enjoy the rest of your Friday and enjoy your weekend. And you and I will definitely be in touch.
Thanks, Chris.